Yarok the Desecrated versus Grenzo Dungeon Warden. Could go Worldly Tutor into a Birds, but that's really slow. Yeah, I want to mulligan that. Try and get into more mana. That's more mana. Crucible of Worlds is really good. And we can go into Dryad Arbor. Definitely going to keep that. And I've done it again with the London Mulligan rule. You have to choose which card to put on the bottom at the beginning of the game. I thought the game was starting and tried to play a fetch land. Ended up putting it on the bottom of the library. Luckily, very luckily, we have another one. And we can make that work with the Crucible of Worlds. So let's go for the Marsh Flats into a Bayou. And then we can go for Green Sun Zenith into the Dryad Arbor. And this is the main reason that Dryad Arbor is in the deck, is because we can get turn 1 ramp down if we have a Green Sun Zenith on turn 1. The Zenith gets shuffled back into the library, so there's a chance we'll draw into that again at some point during the game. Grenzo just getting down a tap land, so we will go for... We'll go for the Crucible of Worlds and get into a blue source. And then we can start getting some stuff going with Tatyova perhaps. Swing in with the Dryad Arbor and pass over to Grenzo, Dungeon Warden, Rakdos and X. For a 2-2, it enters with X plus counters on it, and for 2 generic mana, put the bottom card of your library into your graveyard. If it's a creature with power less than or equal to Grenzo's power, put it onto the battlefield. You can really get some good combo wins off with this. I played against Grenzo quite a while ago. I think the last Grenzo game I played, we lost to Grenzo. It was a really grindy, boring game, but interesting for people who are interested in such things. I think I'll go for Tatyova here, and we'll get down our commander next turn. I just want to take advantage of the card draw here. Tatyova has landfall, gain a life, draw a card. We'll go for a tapped Overgrown Tomb. And that has gained us a couple of life. We've drawn a couple of cards. And now we're looking pretty good for getting down our commander. Down comes Grenzo for only 2 mana. Most likely ramping first with Grenzo because they want to be able to activate him if we manage to remove Grenzo. There we go, there's the Green Sun Zenith again. I think it's only green creatures we can get with this. Yeah, so we can't go for any creature removal. Let's get down Yarok. And Yarok doubles up our ETB effects from all permanents. So we will go for a blue source in Polluted Delta. That means we'll gain 2 life and draw 2 cards thanks to Yarok. Okay, Progenitor Mimic is an interesting one. I think Green Sun Zenith for Lotus Cobra is going to be pretty good, especially with a Crucible of Worlds in play. Yeah, just getting into a whole heap of lands. Yeah, we'll just discard some lands and carry on like that. I'm not going to bother swinging in at Grenzo because I think they know which card is on the bottom of their library. That's one problem with the new London Mulligan rule, is that you know what's on the bottom of your library, assuming that you don't shuffle. So what did they get into here? Target opponent puts a card from their hand on top of their library. Well, I don't think we really care about that all that much. What do we want to protect? I think protecting the Woodland Bellower, we can get a lot going with Woodland Bellower, so we'll put that on top. And then we'll discard a Swamp. A Fumigator Mage. You can sacrifice that to destroy a non-basic land. But we have Crucible of Worlds in play, so we're not too worried about that. Obviously drawing into the Woodland Bellower. Let's get down the Lotus Cobra. And that way we can get a bunch of mana when we play these fetches. We'll go for the Polluted Delta for blue. Lotus Cobra and Tatyova each trigger twice. And we draw, oh, there's a Conjurer's Closet, and we get back into the Green Sun Zenith. Let's make blue and, oh, I don't know, green. And we'll go for the Woodland Bellower. Got a lot of use out of this last game as well. We get to search for a creature, 3 CMC or less, and put it straight into play. So let's go for Springbloom Druid. We have to sack a land, but we'll get a couple of lands into play here. And obviously that occurs twice. A couple of forests come into play, and that is a whole bunch more landfall. And we get to do that again once these triggers have resolved. Oh, there's a Venser. I don't think we're going to be able to hold up mana for a Venser, unfortunately. Then the second Springbloom Druid will trigger. And we'll get rid of a basic forest. And we can go after an island. Yeah, we'll get a couple of islands into play. And a load more triggers. Props to our opponent for playing this out. This is a bit grindy. And then Woodland Bellower will trigger again. And let's say Wood Elves this time for a couple more lands. The Wood Elves will trigger twice as well. We'll grab a Tropical Island first. Tatyova and Lotus Cobra will both trigger twice again. And then the Wood Elves will get us our final land. We'll just get a basic. And it's same old with these two creatures. Now then, in all that, what did we draw? Well, there's a Solemn, there's an Avenger of Zendikar. Let's do this little trick with the Cloud of Fairies. Cloud of Fairies comes into play and we can untap 2 lands, but that will obviously trigger twice. So it's untap 4 lands with the Cloud of Fairies. And then the second trigger is another 2 lands. Then we will go for Venser. And Venser can bounce the Grenzo. And we'll bounce Venser back to our hand as well. Yeah, that's going to slow our opponent down way too much. They should have gone for a Grenzo activation technically, but I think we got way too much going there. And Venser we would be able to cast every turn pretty much, and bounce him back to our hand, bounce our opponent's stuff back. And it's just too much for our opponent to handle, clearly. Even if they had a board wipe, we had Heroic Intervention. Didn't quite have an unlimited hand size, unfortunately, but with a Crucible of Worlds in play, we were never going to struggle getting landfall for that game. So there we are. Another Yarok the Desecrated game. Pretty one-sided, but it does show off what Yarok can do. And, yeah, can be a pretty obnoxious commander, apparently. I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel. Thank you for watching. Yarok the Desecrated versus Azusa, Lost But Seeking. We have plenty of mana to get something going here. Do we go for Dryad Arbor first though? Yeah, I think I want to knock the Summoning Sickness off of that. Be nice to get down Miri's Guile on turn 1 and start filtering our draws, but I want to hold on to the Shuffle effect, just in case we've got a lot of junk on top of our library. An Exploration for Azusa, so we're likely going to be seeing her next turn. Azusa simply reads, you may play 2 additional lands on each of your turns. She's a 1-2 for 2 mana. Oftentimes, what you see with Azusa is ramp into Eldrazi. That is 95% of the Azusa decks. Might as well get down a tapped Shock. There's nothing else for us to do, and we will pass. Our commander is Yarok the Desecrated. 5 mana in Sultai. It is a 3/5 with Death Touch and Lifelink. And if a permanent entering the battlefield causes the triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, then it triggers an additional time. And wow, is that enough ramp for you? We have a Deserted Temple, which is untap a target land for 1 and tap, and then a Temple of the False God, and a Vesuva coming in as a copy of Temple of the False God. And then Cavern of Souls has come in naming Beast, so maybe this is Beast Tribal. Highly doubt it, but It'll be interesting to finally see something different from Azusa. Every time I play this deck, Woodland Bellower always seems to show up, and it's a really good card in the deck, but do we want to just shuffle away? Yeah, I think we have to go for Wood Elves here, so we'll shuffle those away. Get down a blue source and go in for the Wood Elves. And this way we can hopefully get down Yarok next turn if our opponent doesn't just win next turn with all that mana they've got. A good include in Yarok is Sakashima the Imposter. If someone plays a creature that has a good ETB effect, then we can have Sakashima come in as a copy of that. And that will trigger the ETB trigger twice, assuming that Yarok is in play. Okay, down comes Ugin, so this game is pretty much over as far as I can tell. Yeah, we don't like any of those really, so we'll just take another shuffle effect in Wooded Foothills. We cannot go for our commander this turn, unfortunately, so let's go instead for Sakashima the Imposter. Get down another blue source, and that can come in as a copy of Azusa. And that means that we can get multiple lands down this turn. And then we'll just have to leave it at that. If Ugin wants to bolt our Sakashima, I suggest they do it now, because for 4 mana we can bounce that back to our hand. And that's exactly what they do. And I think they're in limit break range now. Yeah, -10. Gain 7 life, draw 7 cards, and put 7 permanents from your hand onto the battlefield. And our opponent has their own Woodland Bellower. That goes into Fierce Empath, and let's see if they've got Eldrazi in the deck. Yeah, it is typical Azusa Eldrazi. That's a shame, I was hoping to see something different from Azusa for once. Why don't we just go for a Wasteland here, and we can knock our opponent down some mana. They're on 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Ulamog is 10, I think. Yep, so if they get down a land next turn, they can afford that. Let's just Wasteland the original temple, just in case they can play Vesuva from the graveyard and have it come in as a copy of something else. Then we'll get down Yarok. We have well and truly lost this game. Ulamog can come down with Ugin, but it won't be a cast trigger at least. I imagine they're going to minus down Ugin this turn. They certainly are. That's gain 7, draw 7, and put 7 permanents onto the field. Well, what have we got? There's a Mindslaver to take control of us. Oblivion Stone can wipe the board somehow. I doubt they're going to be doing that. And they just put a bunch of lands into play. They don't go for Ulamog, so they definitely want to hardcast that. Ramunap came into play as well, so they could get down their Temple of the False God again. And taking control of our next turn. I'm not going to sit here and play around with my opponent too much. Hopefully they just get their Ulamog into play. That was an interesting interaction. The Crystal Vein can tap and sack itself for 2 mana, and if you've got Azusa and Ramunap in play, then you can sack it for 2 mana and then replay it, and you can do that multiple times for a lot of mana. Looks like they are getting down their Ulamog. Yeah, that will exile 2 target permanents. They get rid of our commander and the Wood Elves. They're taking control of our next turn. Then swinging in at us for 8. And let's see. I don't think we get to look at the top cards with Miri's Guile if our opponent's taking control of our turn. They go for playing the Urborg and just leaving it at that. There's nothing for us to do. We just need to take a couple more hits from our opponent's stuff. I think they have lethal on us now, actually. But we're not going to let them play around. I think they know that we don't have anything. Okay, yeah, we're not going to wait for a Primeval Titan to resolve. There was no reason for them to play Prime Time. All they had to do there was turn everything sideways and swing in. So there we are. I'll probably shove both of those games together. There was one game in which we battered our opponent, and then another game in which we got hammered by Azusa. So hopefully you all enjoyed at least one of those Yarok the Desecrated games. I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel. Thank you for watching.